The desert highway at dusk was usually quiet, just the steady hum of cicadas, the stretch of open land, and the long, winding asphalt that disappeared into the horizon. But tonight, that highway echoed with something far more frightening, the frantic footsteps of a terrified young woman running for her life. Emily's breath tore through her lungs as she sprinted across the uneven shoulder of the road. Her shoes were gone, lost somewhere in the chaos behind her, and sharp stones bit into her feet with every step. But she didn't stop. She couldn't stop, not while he was still behind her. The roar of the black pickup truck grew louder, closer. Its headlights flashed across her back like two angry eyes hunting their prey. Emily stumbled, caught herself, and pushed forward again, wiping tears and sweat from her face with trembling hands. The memory of that man's voice still echoed in her ears, cold, threatening, promising she wouldn't escape. She had managed to slip out of the house when he wasn't looking, but he found out too quickly. Now he was chasing her down the lonely highway of northern Arizona, miles away from any police or neighbors. Her legs ached, her throat burned, and for a moment she thought she might collapse. But then she spotted something ahead through the dim haze, a cluster of motorcycles parked near an old, half-lit truck stop. Their chrome glinted under the fading sky, and the air carried the unmistakable smell of gasoline, leather, and burning rubber. Hope flickered. With the last ounce of her strength, Emily staggered toward the truck stop. She could vaguely hear voices, deep, rough, laughing, casual. She didn't know who these men were, and she didn't care. Anyone was better than the monster behind her. She reached the row of bikes, fell to her knees, and gasped for air. The laughter died. Several boots turned her way. One of the bikers, tall, broad-shouldered, tattooed arms exposed under a sleeveless leather vest, stepped forward. His eyes narrowed when he saw the cuts on her arms, the bruises, the panic twisting her face. "You okay?" he asked, voice low but steady. Emily tried to speak, but only choked breaths came out. She pointed behind her. That was when the black pickup screeched onto the gravel lot, throwing dust into the air like a storm. The bikers immediately straightened. Engines rumbled to life with a deep, thunderous growl, echoing across the truck stop. The tall biker exchanged glances with the others, a silent communication passing between them. They knew trouble when they saw it, and they knew exactly what kind. Their leader, Ryder, pushed his bike forward, its headlight shining directly at the incoming truck. His voice carried across the lot like steel sliding from a sheath. "Who's chasing you, sweetheart?" Emily could only whisper one word, but it was enough to change everything. "Please, help." The Iron Guardians turned as one toward the pickup, their expressions hardening into something fierce. And Emily realized, this was the moment everything in her life was about to change. The black pickup rolled to a grinding halt in front of the truck stop, dust spiraling into the warm desert air. The man who stepped out was heavy-built, broad, and fueled by rage. His boots hit the gravel like hammer blows. His eyes, wild, furious, unhinged, locked on Emily trembling beside the Iron Guardian's motorcycles. "There you are," he snarled, pointing a shaking finger at her. "Get over here, now." Emily flinched so hard she nearly fell backward. Ryder took one step forward, placing himself squarely between her and the man. His presence alone carried the weight of command, a shield Emily had never felt in her life. "That's not happening," Ryder said, voice calm but edged with steel. "She's not going anywhere with you." The man's nostrils flared. "This is none of your business. She's mine." The moment he said those words, the rest of the Iron Guardians rose from their seats like a pack awakening. Leather vests shifting, boots grinding into gravel, arms crossed over tattooed chests. They didn't need to speak. The air thickened with their silent warning. Ryder tilted his head. "She doesn't look like someone who wants to go with you. She's confused," the man snapped. "She belongs to me." Emily's voice cracked as she whispered, "No, I don't." The man moved first, lunging toward her. Before he made it 2 steps, 2 guardians intercepted him. One grabbed his arm, twisting it behind his back. The other kicked his leg out, forcing him to the ground with a thud that shook the dirt. He roared and thrashed, but he was nothing against men built like iron and trained by life's hardest lessons. Ryder crouched in front of him. "You come after a terrified woman who's running barefoot down a highway," he said quietly. You don't talk your way out of that. She's lying. The man spat. Bruises don't lie, Ryder replied coldly. Another guardian retrieved the man's dropped phone. One glance at the screen, angry messages, threats, tracking apps, was enough to confirm every fear Emily carried. Call the sheriff, Ryder ordered. A biker already had his phone out. Meanwhile, Emily sat on the curb, shaking uncontrollably. Her breaths came in sharp bursts as adrenaline drained from her body. She expected to feel alone, even in safety. That was how life had always been. But then a heavy leather jacket draped over her shoulders. Ryder's. It's okay, he said softly, crouching beside her. You're safe now. We've got you. Emily clutched the jacket, feeling its warmth, its weight, feeling, for the first time in years, something close to protection. Close to belonging. When the sheriff's cruiser finally arrived, lights flashing silently across the desert, the man was hauled to his feet, beaten, furious, defeated. He screamed threats, promises of revenge, but the guardians didn't react. They had faced worse. They had won worse. Emily watched the pickup disappear down the highway, towed away by law enforcement. She exhaled a trembling breath she'd been holding for far too long. Ryder stood beside her. If you need somewhere to go, he said, we'll help you get there. No one's touching you again. Emily looked at the Iron Guardians, rough, battle-hardened, intimidating, and yet, somehow, the safest place she'd ever found. For the first time since her nightmare began, she felt something she thought she'd lost forever. Hope.